The forgotten species. The galaxy had forgotten about humanity. Long ago, humans had been pushed to the edges of known space, their once great civilizations scattered and broken. The alien races of the galaxy had laughed at them, called them primitive, and dismissed them as no threat. Even the old legends about Earth, the homeworld of humanity, were now little more than myths and stories passed around in hushed whispers. Most of the galaxy's elite knew nothing about Earth. To them, humans were a footnote in the grand history of the cosmos. They had no power, no fleet to speak of, and their technology was considered obsolete compared to the advanced alien empires. The human colonies, though far from their home planet, had remained silent for centuries, forgotten by the stars themselves. On the edge of known space, on a distant and forgotten human colony, life went on much as it had for the last few hundred years. The people here lived simple lives. They'd farmed, traded, and built their homes, far from the wars and politics of the larger galaxy. They were unaware of the galaxy's disdain for their kind. They had learned long ago to focus on their own survival, in a place where no one cared about their past, their history, or the stories of their ancestors. But that was about to change. The Galactic Council, a group of the most powerful alien empires in the galaxy, was busy with its latest conflict, a dispute between two massive alien races over territory. To the Council, the war was nothing more than another power struggle. They had witnessed hundreds of similar conflicts over the centuries, and it seemed no different from the rest. The situation had dragged on for months, and now the Council had gathered again to negotiate, as usual. In the grand chambers of the Council, representatives from dozens of alien species sat, waiting for the meeting to begin. Some were humanoid, others insect-like or energy-based, but they all shared one thing in common. They had no interest in Earth or the humans who had once lived there. The humans were not even a footnote in the vast, tangled web of galactic politics. But then, an unexpected message arrived. It came through the Galactic Communications Network, a standard system used to send urgent messages across vast distances. The message was strange, its source untraceable. The Council's officials took it at first as a prank, something sent by a rogue faction or an individual attempting to disrupt their business. They dismissed it quickly, but when the message repeated itself over the next few days, some began to take notice. The message was short, simple, and urgent. Human fleet in Sector 492. Request immediate assistance. The problem was, there was no record of a human fleet in that sector. In fact, the coordinates pointed to an area long abandoned, a sector that had been empty for centuries. A few rogue ships had passed through the area, but there was nothing of importance there. The Council dismissed the message, assuming it was a hoax. But the message didn't stop. The third time the message was received, something changed. The Council had no choice but to investigate. It was rare for any communication from humanity to be received, and if the message was real, it could be an opportunity to finally put an end to whatever rogue faction was still operating under the name of Earth. They sent a reconnaissance fleet to the coordinates. It was a small fleet, but it was more than enough to confirm or deny the strange signal. But what they found was not what they expected. The fleet had entered the sector and quickly located an anomaly. A massive fleet of ships, hundreds of them, floating silently in space. The ships were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Their designs were old, so old, in fact, they were almost archaic. But there was something terrifying about them. The ships were massive, built for war, and they seemed to be waiting. No weapons fired. No engines roared to life. They were still, watching, as if patiently waiting for something. The reconnaissance fleet sent out a series of probes, attempting to scan the fleet. As the probes neared the ships, the Council's officers were stunned. Despite the ships' outdated designs, their technology was beyond anything they had ever encountered. These ships were far more powerful than the modern warships that patrolled the galaxy. But they were ancient, traces of an old and forgotten species, a species that had once dominated the galaxy. Then, one by one, the ships began to wake. It wasn't just the ships that were awakening. The whole sector seemed to come alive. The dark void of space lit up with energy signatures as the massive human fleet powered on, their engines igniting with blinding light. The galaxy's most advanced alien technologies, which had long since been considered the pinnacle of warfare, now looked puny in comparison. The alien fleet that had been sent to investigate froze. They attempted to send a signal back to the Council, but it was too late. As they tried to retreat, the human fleet moved faster than anyone could have anticipated. Their ships were old, yet their power was unmatched, their weapons far more advanced than any of the Council's own designs. Panic set in among the alien forces. The humans had returned, but they were not the weak, primitive species the galaxy had thought them to be. They were powerful. They were ready. And they were not going to be ignored anymore. Back in the council chamber, representatives began to argue furiously. The records of humanity's disappearance, their near erasure from the galaxy's memory, now seemed like a lie. The humans had never truly been gone. They had simply been biding their time, watching the galaxy grow complacent, waiting for the right moment to strike. And now, that moment had come. Look. As the first human warship powered up its weapons, the alien fleet realized with horror that they had made a grave mistake. The humans were not dead, as they had assumed. They were not weak, as they had believed. And their warships, old and forgotten, had just darkened the skies of the galaxy. The forgotten species had returned, and they were not going to go quietly. The galaxy trembled. For centuries, the thought of humanity had been reduced to little more than a myth. In the grand halls of the Galactic Council, where the most powerful alien species ruled, they had long since written off the human race as irrelevant. But now, the forgotten species had reemerged from the shadows, and their warships darkened the skies. On the edge of known space, the distant human fleet remained silent, waiting, poised for action. Its ships were ancient, familiar in design, yet intimidating in their sheer size and power. But there was something even more unsettling about them. The presence of a force long thought extinct. The alien fleet that had initially come to investigate the mysterious signal had now become its prey. In less than an hour, the reconnaissance ships were surrounded, completely outmatched and unable to escape the relentless onslaught of the human fleet. Their advanced weapons systems, designed to overwhelm any enemy, proved utterly useless against the ancient ships of Earth. No one could explain how these old vessels had become so powerful, or where the humans had been hiding for all these years. Inside the command center of the lead human ship, Captain Alina Voss stood at the helm. Her face was calm, but her mind was focused. She had heard the stories, the legends passed down through generations, about the fall of humanity and the betrayal of their own government. Now, as she stared out at the galaxy, she saw the reality of those legends come to life. "Captain, the alien fleet is moving to engage us," Lieutenant Grover said from his console, his voice tense. Voss nodded. "They're scared," she said softly. "They know who we are, and they know what we can do. They've underestimated us for far too long." The human fleet had been hiding, yes, but not because they were weak or vulnerable. It was a choice, an ancient strategy devised by their ancestors to wait, to bide their time until the galaxy had grown complacent and unprepared. The decision to remain silent had been made long ago, by leaders who understood the value of patience. They knew that one day the galaxy would forget humanity, and when that day came, humanity would return, stronger than ever. Voss's eyes narrowed as she watched the alien ships move closer. These were not the first alien ships to underestimate humanity, and they would not be the last. "Bring the fleet to battle stations," she ordered. "Prepare for engagement. Let's show them what happens when they forget about Earth." As the order spread across the fleet, the ships began to shift into formation. The once dormant warships of humanity, with their ancient designs, now hummed with life. Their engines roared as they powered up, and the energy shields shimmered into existence, ready to withstand any assault. The alien ships, though technologically superior in some areas, were no match for the might of humanity's hidden fleet. As the first salvo of laser fire from the alien fleet hit one of the human ships, the results were immediate. The energy shields absorbed the blasts, and the human vessel responded with a barrage of its own. Devastating energy beams that cut through the alien ship's defenses like a hot knife through butter. "What are we dealing with here?" one of the alien commanders shouted. "These aren't old ships. These are something else." He could not believe his eyes. The ships he had thought were relics of a forgotten time were not only still functional, they were far more advanced than anything he had ever encountered. The weapons systems, the shields, the propulsion, everything was far beyond what the aliens had assumed was possible. They could hardly keep up. As the human fleet advanced, the aliens scrambled to regroup. They tried to call for reinforcements, but the human fleet had anticipated that. Within moments, the galaxy's communications network was jammed by the human ships. The alien fleet was isolated, trapped in the sector with no hope of escape. The battle raged on, and one by one, the alien ships fell. What had started as a simple reconnaissance mission quickly turned into a full-scale massacre. The galaxy's most powerful empires had been put on notice. They had underestimated humanity, and they would pay the price for it. Meanwhile, back at the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. The alien representatives had been watching the unfolding events in stunned silence. The records of Earth's disappearance, the centuries of silence from humanity. All of it now seemed like a carefully constructed lie. Humanity had never been defeated. They had never been weak. They had simply been waiting, watching, and now they had come for their revenge. "We need to send a message to the fleet," one of the council's leaders, a towering insectoid known as Kerzar, shouted. "We need reinforcements immediately. This is not a simple rogue faction. It's humanity, and they are powerful beyond belief." Another leader, a tall serpentine being known as Saltar, shook his head. "It's too late. They've already disabled our communications. We can't reach the fleet. And worse, we may have underestimated them in ways we never imagined." Panic began to spread among the council members as the news reached them. The human fleet was not only still alive, they were a force to be reckoned with. The myths of old about humanity's rise and fall were wrong. Humanity had been biding its time, and now it had returned to take its place in the galaxy once again. As the battle continued to unfold in the distant sector, one thing became clear. Humanity's silent return had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The alien races had been wrong to forget about Earth. Now, the humans had come to remind them of who they were. And they were ready to take back what had once been theirs. Look, the Council's leaders watched in horror as the human fleet advanced further into galactic space, tearing through alien forces with ease. Humanity's silent return was no longer a rumor. It was a nightmare for the galaxy, and it had only just begun. The forgotten species had come back, and they were not going to be ignored any longer. The galaxy watched in disbelief as humanity's ancient warships, long thought to be relics of a forgotten time, tore through the alien fleets with ruthless precision. News of the attack spread like wildfire across the cosmos, reaching the farthest corners of the galaxy. No one had expected this. The quiet humans, who had lived in silence for so long, had suddenly become a powerful force capable of shaking the very foundations of galactic order. Inside the command center of the lead human ship, Captain Elena Voss stood before a massive holographic display of the battle unfolding before her. The alien fleet, once so confident in their technological superiority, was now on the defensive. Their ships were being torn apart, one by one, as humanity's warships unleashed wave after wave of devastating firepower. "Captain, they're retreating," Lieutenant Grover reported, his voice tense but filled with awe. "The alien fleet is in full retreat. They're trying to pull back to a safe distance, but we've already taken out most of their forces." Voss nodded, her expression calm but focused. Keep the pressure on them. We cannot let them escape. She turned her gaze to the holographic map of the galaxy, where the movements of the remaining alien fleets were being tracked. The human fleet had decimated a significant portion of the alien forces in the sector, but there was still work to be done. The galaxy's most powerful alien empires were in disarray, and the human fleet would not stop until they had sent a clear message to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity was not to be underestimated. But something else was happening, something unexpected. As the battle raged on, a new signal appeared on the long-range scanners, a large fleet, unlike anything seen before. It was far larger than the one that had been sent to investigate humanity's mysterious return. This new fleet was a united force, composed of several of the most powerful alien empires in the galaxy. They were coming, and they were coming fast. The Council had gathered its strength, and they were not going to let humanity's sudden resurgence go unpunished. These new forces were determined to crush the human threat before it could spread any further. The question was no longer whether humanity would survive. It was whether they could withstand the full might of the galaxy's combined armies. "Captain," Lieutenant Grover said, interrupting her thoughts, "we're picking up a massive fleet approaching from the outer rim. It's coming straight for us. It looks like a coalition of several alien empires. They've joined forces." Voss's heart sank as she saw the size of the incoming fleet on the display. There were thousands of ships, battleships, carriers, and dreadnoughts, all moving in perfect formation. This was the full might of the Galactic Council, mobilized to crush the human fleet before it could grow too powerful. "We've got their attention now," Voss muttered, more to herself than anyone else. "They won't let us get away with this." She turned to her officers. "We're not backing down. Prepare the fleet for the next phase of the assault. We'll give them everything we've got." The human fleet had fought hard, but they were about to face a new kind of war, one where every ship, every crew member, and every strategy would be tested to its limits. In the command room of the alien coalition fleet, General Creel, a towering reptilian figure, stood at the helm, his yellow eyes narrowing as he observed the situation unfolding before him. The human fleet had caused more damage than they had anticipated. The Council had been foolish to underestimate them. Now the galaxy's combined forces had to step in and deal with this threat once and for all. "Prepare all ships for battle," Creel ordered, his voice a low growl. "We will crush them." The fleet commander, a sleek, bird-like creature known as Zafar, looked up from his console. "General Creel, the human fleet is already positioned for battle. They're not retreating. They've dug in." Creel turned to face Zafar. "Do you think they can stand against us? We have twice their numbers. Our firepower will obliterate them." Zafar hesitated, then spoke. "It's not just their numbers, General. There's something else. Their tactics. They're not acting like any species we've encountered. They've been anticipating our every move." Creel's sharp claws dug into the control panel. "Impossible. They are nothing but forgotten survivors. How could they possibly know our tactics?" Zathar's eyes narrowed. "I don't know. But I've seen their battles before, and these humans, they fight like they've been preparing for this moment for centuries." The general was silent for a moment, considering this. It was true. The humans had displayed an unexpected level of coordination and expertise in their attacks. Their warships, though old, seemed to have capabilities that rivaled the most advanced technologies the galaxy had to offer, and they had a ruthless efficiency to their fighting that made them formidable. "Then let us see how they stand against the full might of the galactic empires," Creel snarled. "We will break them." Back in the heart of the human fleet, Captain Voss paced in front of the holographic map. The incoming coalition fleet was massive. They were about to face the greatest challenge humanity had ever encountered. But there was no fear in her eyes, only determination. "This is it," she said, her voice steady. "They've underestimated us long enough. It's time we show them the true strength of Earth." She turned to her officers. "Get the fleet ready. We'll fight with everything we've got. We've waited too long for this. Humanity's time is now." The human fleet, though vastly outnumbered, was prepared. Their warships may have been ancient, but they were filled with the knowledge of their ancestors, strategies and tactics that had been passed down through generations. They had been waiting for this moment, and they would not back down. As the first alien ships appeared on the horizon, the human fleet engaged. The battle began, a clash of titanic forces. Alien technology versus ancient human might. The humans fought with unparalleled precision, their ships moving in perfect formation, each vessel supporting the others in ways the alien fleet had never seen before. Hook. The aliens soon realized that this was not going to be an easy fight. The human fleet, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity and skill that left the invaders reeling. The full might of the galaxy's forces had been unleashed, but the humans were not backing down. This battle would determine the fate of humanity and the galaxy itself. The battle raged on, the heavens filled with flashing lights as the ships of both fleets exchanged fire. The human warships, though outnumbered and surrounded by the most powerful empires in the galaxy, stood their ground. The enemy's firepower was overwhelming, but the humans' warships were not to be taken so easily. Captain Elena Voss stood at the command console of the lead ship, watching the chaos unfold before her. The alien fleets were no longer taking humanity lightly. The full might of the galaxy's empires had been thrown at them, but even so, the human fleet was holding its ground. "Report," Voss demanded. "Captain, our shields are holding strong," Lieutenant Grover said, his voice calm despite the intense situation. "We've lost a few ships, but we're still in the fight. We're taking down their cruisers one by one." Voss's lips tightened into a determined line. They were losing ships, yes, but they were also taking down far more than the alien fleets had expected. The humans were doing something that the galaxy had never seen before. They were fighting smarter, not harder. The aliens had expected a straightforward battle, relying on their superior numbers and technology. But what they hadn't counted on was humanity's ability to adapt. Their tactics were unpredictable, and each ship seemed to have been designed with a purpose, a role to play in the larger strategy. On the battlefield, the human warships moved as one, their formations constantly shifting. Unlike the more rigid, conventional tactics of the alien fleets, humanity's ships flowed like water, constantly adjusting, striking from unexpected angles, and retreating just when the enemy thought they had them cornered. It was a dance of destruction, and the humans were the masters of it. On the bridge of the alien flagship, General Creel clenched his fists, his claws digging into the armrests of his command chair. He had expected a fight, but nothing like this. The humans were not fighting like any species they had ever encountered. It was as if they were using old strategies, ancient war tactics that had been long forgotten by the rest of the galaxy. "They're too unpredictable," Creel growled. "How are they doing this? Our weapons are supposed to overwhelm them." His second-in-command, the bird-like Zathar, spoke carefully. "General, the humans, they've adapted to our strategies. They're using their old ships in ways we've never anticipated." Creel narrowed his eyes. "Old ships? They have no advanced technology. How could they possibly outmaneuver us like this?" Zathar hesitated for a moment, then spoke. "We underestimated them, General. These ships, they may be ancient, but they are incredibly well built. Their commanders, Captain Voss, they know what they're doing." Creel's eyes flashed with anger. "We will break them. Prepare the next wave of attacks. Deploy everything we have. We will show them what true power looks like." Back on the human fleet, Captain Voss was calculating her next move. Her mind was sharp, the years of training and experience guiding her every decision. She had fought in battles before, but this one was different. The stakes were higher than ever before, and the fate of humanity rested on their success. "Lieutenant Grover, what's the status on the alien reinforcements?" Voss asked, her voice steady despite the tension. "We've already knocked out a significant portion of their fleet," Grover replied. "But we're still seeing reinforcements coming in. They're trying to overwhelm us with sheer numbers." Voss nodded, her mind racing. We can't let them build momentum. If they get a foothold here, they'll regroup and come back stronger. We need to strike hard, and we need to strike fast. The human fleet had always relied on its ability to adapt, to think outside the box. While the aliens relied on their superior technology and numbers, humanity relied on the experience of their commanders and the ingenuity of their people. And Captain Voss knew it was time to pull out the most unexpected move of all. "Prepare the secondary fleet," she ordered. "Launch the decoy ships." Grover raised an eyebrow. "The decoys? Are you sure, Captain?" Voss gave a small, confident smile. "We have to do something they don't expect. It's time to give them a taste of their own medicine." The decoy ships, though outdated in appearance, were equipped with advanced holographic projectors that could create the illusion of a much larger fleet. As the alien forces focused their attention on the decoy ships, Captain Voss gave the order for the real human fleet to slip into a new formation. The decoy ships moved swiftly, mimicking the movements of the larger human fleet, while the real ships broke through the enemy's lines, undetected. "Decoys are in position," Grover reported. "The alien fleet is chasing them." Voss nodded. "Now's our chance. All ships, advance." As the decoy fleet drew the alien forces away, the real human fleet moved in on the vulnerable alien ships that had been left behind. The element of surprise worked in their favor. The alien ships, caught off guard by the sudden shift in tactics, found themselves surrounded. The humans attacked with precision, tearing through the alien defenses and crippling their vessels in moments. The result was nothing short of devastating. What had seemed like an overwhelming force for the aliens just hours earlier was now being dismantled, piece by piece. The tide of battle had turned in humanity's favor, and the alien fleets, once so confident in their superiority, were now on the defensive. General Creel stared in disbelief at the holographic display in front of him. The battle was spiraling out of control. The human ships had executed a strategy he had never seen before, a cunning and unexpected move that had caught his forces off guard. "How did they do this?" Creel muttered, his voice tinged with frustration. "We have the advantage in numbers. How could they have known what we would do?" Zathar, his voice quiet, answered, "General, I believe the humans are more than we ever imagined. Their adaptability, their intelligence, it's beyond anything we've encountered." Creel's face twisted in anger. "They may have gained the upper hand, but it will not last. We will crush them, no matter what it takes." But deep down, even Creel knew the truth. The battle was no longer in their favor. The human fleet had struck back harder than anyone could have anticipated. And now, the galaxy was watching. On the human flagship, Captain Voss stood in front of the tactical map, her eyes scanning the movements of the alien fleet. The tide had turned, but there was still much to be done. The battle was far from over. "Lieutenant, what's our status?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "General Creel is regrouping his forces," Grover replied. "But we've taken out their most powerful ships. The reinforcements are scrambling to reorganize." Voss nodded. "We finish this now. No mercy." The human fleet had done the unthinkable. They had turned the tide of battle against the galaxy's most powerful empires. The alien forces, once confident of an easy victory, now found themselves scrambling to regain control. The hum of activity in the human flagship's command center was a mixture of tension and quiet determination. Captain Elena Voss stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. The battlefield had shifted dramatically. The alien fleets, though still formidable in size, were losing ground. They had underestimated humanity's resilience, and now it was too late to stop the momentum. "We've taken out their command ships," Lieutenant Grover reported. "Their leadership is in chaos. They're trying to reorganize, but we're keeping them on the defensive." Voss's jaw tightened. The victory was within reach, but she knew the alien empires would not give up without one last desperate push. If they could regroup, if they could pull together their remaining forces, the fight wouldn't be over. The galaxy might still turn on humanity. "Prepare for the final push," Captain Voss said, her voice steady. "We cannot let them recover. We've broken their fleet apart, and now we finish it." Grover nodded and turned to his crew. The human fleet was ready. Each ship had already taken heavy damage, but they were still fighting. They had proven themselves more than capable of taking on the galaxy's greatest threats. Now, it was time to finish what they had started. On the alien flagship, General Creel's eyes burned with frustration. He had watched as the humans systematically dismantled his forces. The decoy tactic, the surprise moves, the precision, they were all working in the humans' favor. Now, they were on the brink of total annihilation. But Creel was not one to surrender. He had fought for his empire his entire life. His people were depending on him, and he would not allow the humans to destroy everything they had built. "We will not retreat," Creel growled. "They think they have won, but they are wrong. We will crush them with everything we have left." He turned to Zafar, his second in command. "Send a message to the reinforcements. I want every last ship in the sector to converge on the humans. We will finish this fight." Zafar hesitated. "General, we are running low on resources. The humans have taken out a significant portion of our fleet. If we send everything we have left, we risk total destruction." Creel's face twisted with rage. "I don't care if we have to use every ship we've got. We will not let these puny humans think they can defeat us. They've mocked us for too long. They will pay for their insolence." The human fleet, meanwhile, was preparing for the final engagement. It was now or never. They had pushed the aliens to the edge, but Captain Voss knew that the upcoming battle would be the toughest of all. This was not just about surviving. It was about sending a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity was not just a forgotten species. They were a force to be reckoned with. "Are we ready, Lieutenant?" Voss asked, her voice firm but filled with the weight of what was to come. "Ready as we'll ever be, Captain," Grover replied. "We got the fleet positioned for a final assault. If we break through this wave, it's over." Voss took a deep breath and looked at the faces of her crew. They had fought hard, but now, more than ever, they needed to stay focused. She gave a single nod. "This is humanity's moment. Let's finish this." The alien forces were not giving up easily. As Creel had ordered, reinforcements began to arrive. Dozens, then hundreds of alien ships pouring into the battlefield. They were desperate, knowing that the humans were on the verge of victory. The combined forces of the galaxy's greatest empires were about to make their last stand against the humans. But the human fleet, though battered, had no intention of slowing down. They moved into position, their warships forming tight, coordinated formations, each ship supporting the others in a seamless display of unity and power. The humans had been preparing for this moment for years. They had known that the galaxy would one day come for them, and they had been waiting for this fight. As the alien reinforcements closed in, the human fleet unleashed everything they had left. The battle erupted in a blaze of firepower. The sky was filled with laser blasts, explosions, and debris as both sides fought with everything they had. The humans, with their older, less advanced ships, fought with a tenacity and determination that the aliens could not match. One by one, alien ships began to fall. The once immense fleet was now being torn apart, piece by piece, as the humans pressed their advantage. The alien leadership, disorganized and desperate, tried to rally their forces, but the humans were relentless. Every maneuver, every tactic, every decision was executed with flawless precision. The aliens could not keep up. On the flagship, Creel watched in horror as the battle turned against him. His reinforcements had been decimated, and the remaining ships were retreating, trying to escape the overwhelming force of the humans. "No," Creel roared, "we will not be defeated." But it was too late. The human fleet had broken the back of the alien forces. The remaining ships were scattered, and the command structure had fallen apart. Creel's vision of a final victory for his empire was slipping away. He turned to Zafar. Prepare to retreat. We've lost. We're pulling out. Zathar nodded grimly. It's over, General. The last of the alien ships fled the battlefield, leaving the human fleet standing victorious. The skies, once darkened by the enemy's massive ships, were now clear. The humans had won. They had beaten the galaxy's most powerful empires and sent a message that would echo across the stars for generations to come. Captain Voss stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the final remnants of the alien fleet vanish into the distance. She allowed herself a small, victorious smile. "We did it," she said quietly. Grover approached her. "The galaxy will never forget what we've done today." Voss nodded. "No, they won't." The hum of the human warships was a constant, a reminder that the battle had been won. But the war was far from over. The remnants of the alien fleets had retreated, their once proud ships scattered and broken, but there was no celebration among the human crew. They had secured a monumental victory, but the cost had been high. Too high. Captain Alina Voss stood on the bridge of her flagship, her eyes fixed on the starry expanse outside. The remains of the alien forces were still visible, their debris scattered like forgotten remnants of a once formidable power. But Voss knew better than to revel in their destruction. The real consequences of this victory were just beginning to unfold. "We've won," Lieutenant Grover said, his voice low. He stood beside Voss, watching the empty void where the alien fleets had once been. "But at what cost? How much did we lose?" Voss didn't answer immediately. The question had haunted her since the battle ended. Their warships had fought bravely, but many had been severely damaged, and countless lives had been lost. It was a victory, but it came with a price. The human fleet was in no condition to face another battle, not for a long time. "We'll rebuild," Voss said finally, though her voice held little conviction. "But it won't be easy. Not after this." Grover nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "The galaxy won't let us rest for long. Our enemies are wounded, but not defeated. They'll be back." Voss turned to him. "They'll have to come through us first." Her voice was firm, but inside, she was filled with uncertainty. They had proven their strength, but the galaxy was vast, and the alien empires were not the only threats out there. What if there were more forces, more powers they had not yet faced? "We're not out of danger yet, are we?" Grover asked, sensing her doubt. "No," Voss replied, her gaze still locked on the distant stars. "The worst is yet to come." Meanwhile, the surviving alien forces were not in disarray. General Creel had retreated, but he had not abandoned his ambitions. The aliens had suffered heavy losses, yes, but they were far from broken. Their resolve had only been hardened by the humans' unexpected success. And now, Creel was making plans for the future, ones that would shake the very core of the galaxy. As his flagship moved into deep space, Creel stood in the command center, glaring at the holographic display of the human victory. The image of their final devastating assault was burned into his memory. The humans had defeated them, but the galaxy had no idea what they had unleashed. Humanity had awoken something much bigger than they could possibly imagine. "Prepare the fleet," Creel ordered, his voice cold and calculating. "The humans may have won this battle, but the war is far from over. We will return, and next time, we'll be ready." Zathar, his second in command, looked at him, his alien eyes filled with uncertainty. "General, what if the humans are stronger than we expected? They caught us off guard once. What if they do it again?" Creel snarled. "We were caught off guard, but now we know their tactics, and next time, we won't be making the same mistake. Prepare the fleet, Zathar. The galaxy will fall to us, and we will have our revenge on the humans." Back on Earth, the victory was being celebrated as a triumph of human spirit and resilience. News broadcasts filled every corner of the globe, showing footage of the battle and the final push that had sent the alien fleets into retreat. People cheered, their hopes rising higher than they had ever been. Humanity had fought back against the galaxy's greatest powers, and emerged victorious. But there were whispers, murmurs of unease as well. The human fleet was battered, their warships in need of repairs, and many of their soldiers had perished in the conflict. The victory felt hollow to those who had lost friends and loved ones. In a conference room deep within Earth's military command center, Captain Voss sat with her senior officers, her expression unreadable. The news of their success had spread like wildfire, but there was no time to rest. There were still dangers lurking in the shadows. "Captain," Commander Lowell said, his tone serious, "the enemy may be retreating, but we've seen their resolve. They will be back, and they won't underestimate us again." Voss nodded slowly. "I know, but we can't keep fighting like this. We've taken heavy losses, and our fleet needs time to recover. We need a plan, and we need it now." Lowell cleared his throat. "There's another problem, Captain. The rest of the galaxy is watching. We've become a target. The alien empires may be weakened, but there are other factions, smaller, more unpredictable, that could take advantage of the chaos. The galaxy may not let us rest, not after what we've done." Voss stared at the map in front of her, her mind racing. The stakes were higher than ever. It wasn't just the alien empires anymore. Now, the entire galaxy knew that humanity had the potential to change the balance of power. "We can't afford to be complacent," she said quietly. "We've gained the attention of the entire galaxy. That makes us a threat to anyone who doesn't want to see us rise. We need to build alliances, reinforce our defenses, and prepare for whatever comes next." Lowell nodded. "We've never faced anything like this before. The galaxy won't forgive us for what we've done." As Voss and her officers continued their tense discussions, a new challenge was brewing in the distant corners of the galaxy. Small, scattered factions, once content to stay out of the larger galactic conflicts, were now re-evaluating their positions. The humans had proven themselves a force to be reckoned with, and some saw this as an opportunity to align themselves with the victors. Others, however, saw it as a threat to be eliminated before humanity could rise to true power. The galaxy, once divided by countless conflicts, was now united by one common fear. Humanity had awoken, and no one knew what the consequences of this new, powerful species would be. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity, once forgotten and dismissed, had risen from the shadows and shattered the balance of power. The greatest alien empires had been humbled, their fleets scattered, their leaders shaken. But victory had come at a cost. The human fleet was battered, their resources strained, and their people weary. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge of her flagship, gazing at the vast expanse of space. The silence after the battle was almost deafening. The enemy had retreated, but the weight of what they had done remained heavy on her shoulders. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady. Lieutenant Grover looked up from his console. "Most of our ships are heavily damaged. We lost a third of the fleet, Captain. We won the battle, but if another war starts now, we might not survive it." Voss exhaled slowly. She had known the losses would be high, but hearing it confirmed was different. Humanity had proven its strength, but they were vulnerable. And the galaxy had taken notice. "The alien empires won't forget what happened here," Commander Lowell said grimly. "We embarrassed them. We shattered their fleets. But they won't stay down forever. They'll be back, and they'll be smarter next time." Voss nodded. "Then we need to be ready. We can't fight another war like this, not with brute force alone. We need strategy, allies, and above all, time." But time was the one thing they didn't have. The Council of the Fallen. Deep within the shattered remains of the Galactic Empire's capital, the surviving rulers of the once mighty alien factions gathered in secrecy. The chamber was dark, the air thick with tension. These leaders, who once commanded entire star systems with unquestioned authority, were now afraid. General Creel stood among them, his face twisted with frustration. This humiliation cannot stand. Humanity was supposed to be a footnote in galactic history, a forgotten species doomed to isolation. And now, they have destroyed our fleets, broken our armies, and left us in ruin. A hulking reptilian warlord growled, his claws tapping against the stone table. We underestimated them. That was our mistake. But they are weak now. Their fleet is crippled. If we strike now, we can finish them before they rebuild. A shadowed figure from the far end of the chamber let out a low, amused hum. Perhaps, but you assume humanity is alone. Silence fell over the room. Creel frowned. What do you mean? The figure leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with cold intelligence. Word spreads quickly across the stars. Other species watched this battle. Some feared humanity's rise, but others. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Others saw an opportunity. The warlord slammed his fist against the table. You're suggesting that some of our own allies might turn against us. The figure chuckled. I'm saying they already have. The galaxy no longer fears us. They fear them. Creel clenched his fists. He had thought the humans were the problem. Now, it seemed, they had sparked something even worse. The dawn of a new alliance. On Earth, leaders from across the human colonies gathered in the war room beneath the planet's surface. Holographic maps displayed the galaxy, highlighting the remnants of the enemy fleets and the rising movement of independent factions. Some were former slaves of the alien empires. Others were species who had long suffered under the rule of the galactic powers. And now, they saw humanity as a beacon of hope. We've received transmissions from multiple factions, Admiral Rain reported. They want to meet. Some wish to form alliances. Others are offering resources. It seems they believe in us. Captain Voss listened carefully. She had expected retaliation from the defeated alien empires. But this was new. Grover whistled. So we go from being forgotten nobodies to the leaders of a rebellion against the galaxy's oldest powers. Not bad. Voss smiled faintly. Not bad at all. But she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. They were shaping the future of the galaxy itself. The final warning. As the human fleet began repairs and preparations for what was to come, a distress signal arrived from deep space. It was faint, almost unreadable, but the message was clear. They know what you've done. They are coming. Not just the ones you fought, but something worse, something ancient. Prepare. Voss read the transmission twice, her heart pounding. Who sent this? She demanded. The communications officer hesitated. Unknown. But Captain, it came from the far edge of the galaxy, from a region no known empire has ever controlled. Silence filled the room. Voss looked at the map, her eyes narrowing. If this was real, if something even more powerful was out there, the war they had fought might have just been the beginning.